The Instituto Cervantes was founded in 1991, so it's quite a young one. And then we started following, in a way, the ideas of the Goethe Institute here, Goethe Institute, or the British Council, or the Alliance Française, Institut Français. The idea for us is, first of all, to teach the language, Spanish language. We also teach some other languages of Spain, but mainly the Spanish language, and at the best level, and also to certify the levels of language. So we care about all this, the best, all the certifications of A1, B1, whatever. On the DELE, which is the diploma for Spanish of a foreign language, we run with that. Altogether, that's our main purpose. Altogether with that, we run with culture. We work on the diffusion, the promotion and the communication of the Spanish culture, which means not only the culture made in Spain, in our different languages, but also the culture of the Spanish-speaking countries. And as you know, that means about some 20-something countries. It means something because all the south of the United States, for instance, there are a lot of Spanish-speaking people. But we also speak about some more than 500 million Spanish-speaking people. And a especially good thing about the Spanish language is that there is a real community. I mean, that we are very, very closely connected. And we collaborate. And in fact, it's a very living language. And every country has its own academy for the language. And the main one is in Spain, is the Real Academia de la Lengua, but they all work in a network all the time. I mean, it's not like, oh, the academy in Spain is the one who rules and then the other come after. No. They work in a network. There's an association of the all Spanish academies of the language, and they are in touch all the time. We have only one common dictionary which includes all the time whatever says, let's say, for instance, the academy in Colombia says, well, we have some 10 new words. They send it to Spain and say, all right, perfect. And we put it, this is word especially used in Colombia. But it goes straight. I mean, if the academy in Colombia or in Peru or in República Dominicana says, this goes, in Spain say, perfect, perfect. And even there are some groups that the presidency sometimes rotates. So it's a very common work of all of them. And we managed to understand each other very well. I mean, much more if you're here in Germany, you've heard to the different dialects. Some of the dialects are really, well, really, really, really difficult to understand. If you go to the south or if you go to Austria, well, really, they speak something really different. For us, of course, we have different dialects. It's a huge extension all throughout the world, but mainly we manage to understand each other pretty well. So as for the diversities and even the rules, we all work together. And in culture, we may say the same. Our culture is very, let's say, homogeneous. We all deal with the same. Probably you all have heard about the great writers. There are lots of great writers which write in Spanish or have written in Spanish. Suppose you all know about Borges or Neruda, Vallejo, Cortázar, Rubén Darío, Juan Rulfo. Well, they are from different countries, but it's like they all work the same way. And many times they were straight friends. And they always keep reading. It's not like, I want to be the best writer in Peru, for instance. So I want to read what everybody does in Peru. No, the one in Peru reads what people are writing in Spain or in Colombia or in Mexico. And they're eager to see, well, what's going on? What's the new thing they're producing? And a new film, new music. And there's a great interchange, an exchange of what is culture all around. Not only in your region, in your country. Say, what are they doing here? Oh, let's read it. Let's say what's something new, the avant-garde here or there. And many of our countries have passed or are still passing through troubles. Many of them are not rich, even poor, or they're in ways of development. It's many factors about that. And I remember what some of the presidents, they said, they came to Germany and said, let's do some roads like the ones in Germany. Well, you can do a road like in Germany, in America, because Germany is flat. I mean, you start from Moscow and you go all the way to the Pyrenees and it's flat. It's mainly flat. It's quite easy to make a road. But if you go to Bolivia, for instance, when you go to the mountains, 3,000 meters high, and then there's a valley, and then there's an amazing river with floods, and then the wild parks, the green. It's not that easy to make things. So the nature is really strong over there, and it's not so easy sometimes to develop. Many countries are not that rich, but in culture, they all have a great culture. Great writers, great musicians, and even some of the countries in the Spanish area are really, let's say, even cultural powers. Mexico, Argentina, or Colombia. Mexico, I wanted just to say something about Mexico. They really work in a very proper way. I mean, they have this many public work on culture, meaning that I think it's about every place with more than 5,000 people has a little, a library, a public library, which is not so easy. When enormous countries where you have to go and reach that, well, they have those things. And they have a system for artists and creators, so that some, let's say, some creators they receive some money from the government just to work, to write, because sometimes they have to, poets also have to eat, and they have children and those things, so they need money. And so there's a very interesting program. And I don't think we don't have, not even in Europe, or in the States, some such great programs to let creators create freely. So they really care about their production, and or they have very good publishing houses. There's a real effort about that. So I said that it's a power, many of these countries are a power in institutions devoted to culture, publishing houses, things of the kind. So as I said, we are working with a great common ground for culture in Spanish, in which, of course, every country is proud of their own writers and creators, but in a way, we all belong to us all. You are free, you speak freely, and it's the one in Peru. If you are in Peru, you feel like someone who's writing in Mexico or in Colombia, because really it's a great basing, let's say cultural basing. So, how does this Instituto Cervantes come in here? Well, the thing is, of course, we are part of the European Union in Spain. The Instituto Cervantes is part of the Foreign Affairs Ministry. We are not culture, we are Foreign Affairs. Though we work with the Ministry of Culture, of course, but we are part of the Foreign Affairs Ministry. The Goethe Institute, for instance, it's a foundation, or British Council, they are or partly public, partly private. We are part of the government, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That is good for some things, not and for others not so good, but it's a help for many things. And we are part, of course, of the European Union, but also we are part of the great Spanish community. So we are the natural link between both sides, and that's very helpful. How do we translate this, apart from these big, nice words, in real practice, everyday life? Let's go to some concrete instances. I told you about this DELE, D-E-L-E, which is the diploma for Spanish for non-original speakers. That's been running for a long time, and we have developed recently, some 2-3 years ago, a new one called SIELE, S-I-E-L-E. It's a certificate for Spanish, which you use very quickly. I mean, it's not like the DELE, which is only sometimes of the year, that CLA can run all the time. But what is very important, it has been done all together by Instituto Cervantes, the University of Salamanca, the University of Buenos Aires in Argentina, and the UNAM, the huge university, Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico, a huge university with 200,000 students. It's a monster. I mean, the rector in that university always sounds like a possible minister or president. It's such a big power in that university. Well, they all sat down and prepared a common certificate. That's a lot of work. That's one of the things. To coordinate these things is really hard, but it's a great, great work. And it observes even several varieties of Spanish. So I say, well, I'm this side, and I speak with the S and not the F. And if I am going to make an exam with you have to, it's a practical exam, you have to read, to listen. I probably not read it properly. I said, don't worry, because you will be examinated by someone with that accent. So that is a great effort. We are very proud of that. And it's something straight of how we did the collaboration. That's really, just to start with, was a great work. And to keep going, it means lots of people in many parts of the world to updating the whole of it. And it's a real, straight, proper, practical thing, this new certificate, worldwide certificate, including, as I said, many experts from different parts of the Spanish-speaking world. More, for instance, a point, translation. In 2021, Spain will be the guest country in the Frankfurt Buchmesse, in the book fair of Frankfurt, which is the most important in the world. Mainly, not so many writers reading their things there, but it's the best place in the world for doing the transactions, the business. So it's money all the time, just selling rights, buying rights, translations, all those things. So it's 5 days altogether, but 3 days really hard work, and it's how all the great things in the publishing industry worldwide. Well, the Cervantes, in my case here, let's talk about Germany. There are some publishing houses who work especially translating Spanish-speaking authors. The thing is, of course, they know, being in the European Union, that Spain, the Spanish Ministry of Culture, has some special grants for translation. That's very easily known. But the Spanish publishing houses, and also the ones in Spanish America, have also some new programs and new grants. And as we are in touch with all of them, we put them together in touch. And there are some of them are very new. The Spanish one is old, but for instance, in Argentina also, Argentina is they call the program Sur, South, for translation. Mexico, all these big ones already have it. But for instance, the one in Colombia is totally new. They just last year, it's a pilot project of 12 grants of 3,000 euros each, $3,000 for translation. Well, that's just new, and we are telling the publishing houses this is new, it's a new program. Also, Uruguay has just started with that. Chile, it's 3 years with that, and we are also being a bridge, and through us, some other many publishing houses are connecting them, and so just bringing them up to date of what is new in this field of getting some, let's say, grants or helps for edition of Spanish-speaking countries. Something straight of these days, Monday and Tuesday. On Monday, we had at the Instituto Cervantes, as a host, we had the meeting. It's not for the general audience, it's just for them, just a working meeting of the, let's say, the directors of the area of cinema, the public area of cinema in the different ministers of culture of the Ibermedia, which is Spanish and Portuguese. So it could be Spain, Portugal, Brazil, and all the Spanish-speaking countries. So that's the one who, the head of public investment in cinema of each country was there. And they were, for a whole day long, working together, doing business together, talking about co-productions, all those things. And where did they meet? In Cervantes, which is, let's say, the neutral, a general ground in which they all may feel at home, because there's no one ruling there. It's just like, of course, we belong to Spain, but as we work with the whole Spanish-speaking countries, world, they are all at the same level. So let's sit here and talk straight about what's good for you, how could you collaborate this country, the other country together. And this means, cinema is terribly expensive, so it's a huge thing. And we really need to sit down and prepare co-productions. Well, that was on Monday, the whole Monday. On Tuesday, I was invited. I went to the party of Arte. Arte, you all know, it's this great channel, cultural channel, mainly France and Germany, and they do the things in French and in German. But they are starting to do it also in some of the languages. They are broadcasting in some of the languages because it's a European channel. And they started with some 400 hours of programs in Spanish. And I was talking to one of the executives, and I was telling them, let's do something together because I can put you in touch with all the Spanish-speaking countries in America to do business together. Because once it is in Spanish also, there may be some co-productions, there may be things together. So, as we are part of ARTI, or the European cultural thing, and the funds and the grants and collaborations, and we are part of the group of Spanish-speaking countries with the funds and collaboration and everything, we can put them in touch and help them make real work, straight, practical things together. And we will speak about that later if you want to. That's not so easy as it looks like. I mean, every single step you take means a lot of work, means a lot of good know-how, good knowing, and also good spirit to do things, because you have to, everyone, and it's logical, that wants to get the best of their part, but then you all have to sit together and say how we manage to collaborate properly and do the things. More about this year. This year, I suppose you all know, it's 250 years of Alexander von Humboldt. So there will be many things. This is a Humboldt year, and of course we collaborate with the Alexander von Humboldt, Alexander and the brother, the Humboldt University, but we are part of the group as Instituto Cervantes. And probably, well, you know that Humboldt made all his research in which was there then Spain, the Kingdom of Spain, and it was in the Spanish-speaking countries nowadays. So we are in an important part of that. And of course there are some 6 countries in Spanish America where Humboldt worked, he traveled and everything. And this time I spoke straight with some of the heads of this whole year, Humboldt year. They said, please, it would be great if you, as Instituto Cervantes, as a partner of us, as our partner, may collaborate also doing things easy to talk with the Spanish American embassies. I mean, if we don't do it straight, but if you just can coordinate and do things together, it's easier. It's of course perfect for us, but that's our thing also, just trying to get the importance of all of the countries and work together. It's like in a string or in the industry, it has to go to be oiled, to be working properly. So that in that case, it's our part also, just coordinating to make things easier. Just to end up, just something also very important, as I marked before, that we are like a common ground or a common place in which no one is higher than the other. I mean, for instance, if we all go to the Colombian embassy, well, the one in Colombia is at home, and he's like in a way like a president, and we all just are the guests. But if we all meet in Spain and all the Spanish-speaking countries in Instituto Cervantes, there's no real guest. It's like we are all at the same level. And that's very helpful for these things too. It's very helpful. Like we're talking like brothers in a great family. That's not always easy to do because there are some troubles between one and the other. One this and one that. All right, right. But anyway, we are on the same level. We are on the same thing. We are on the same boat. It's our culture of us all, and let's start to do the things properly. Moreover, Instituto Cervantes also has straight. It's more than partnerships. Like we have some broader cultural institutions in some other Spanish-speaking countries. One is the one I mentioned, UNAM, la Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México. They even have that's one. The other is the Instituto Caro y Cuervo in Colombia, which is a great institute of research for language and culture based in Bogotá. And the Instituto Centro Cultural Inca Garcilaso, from the writer Inca Garcilaso de la Vega from Peru. They all three have an office in our general office in Madrid, straight, and have the delegate there, and they work all the time, hand in hand with the ones in Madrid. And they are invited to all events. Let's say when we once a year, we all directors of the world meet to work together. These directors of these organizations are also invited, so that we interact. And they have straight their bureau there and can talk to the director of Cervantes or directors, area directors straight. They just go from this bureau to the other and say, well, I have this program, what shall we do? We have this money, whatever. So, just then to start with the general talk, main things for us, coordinate and collaborate in movements of both directions, first inside our Spanish-speaking world, but also what is all the culture in Europe, the different languages and cultures and cultural institutions of Europe, unique and all the kind, and the Spanish-American ones. Then give and manage and work with the information, which is important. It is not always, it's reachable, but sometimes it's not just straight that you get the information all the time. So it's good to be moving and moving the information so that everyone needs this, gets this information about grants, about chances of collaboration, co-production, co-work, whatever. Work as a general ground, as a general home for all of us in the Spanish-speaking countries, and also help to, let's say, be a channel or work with the projects which include many people. So work for these collaborations of many countries. All those things should be our main things in Europe and in cultural diplomacy, which in our case, as I was saying before, is very important because culture is a great point for our Spanish-American countries. Hopefully it will be growing more and more in how to translate that within jobs and productions in this film industry, in books, whatever, and that's giving richness to the countries. So, and not only cultural. For me, I think we should just start, if you want, just to some practical questions about how to work. Only just to start with the thing. Trust me, sometimes, and when you're working in some years, probably you will be working in cultural diplomacy. Speaking about my own experience, sometimes things which seem to be very, very easy to do are a nightmare. And things which seem to be completely, this is nonsense, this is impossible, are sometimes very easy to do. So the thing is just to put in touch and to know who you have to work with this or that thing, and which subject is interesting for anyone. And for those things, what is really important is to know about the other cultures. I mean, if you are, as in my case, from Spanish-speaking countries, but working in Germany, the good thing is to know a lot about German culture and see the points in connection. So the more you know about the country you are working in, the easier to get the collaborations. Because sometimes it's not just logical or real that we know everything about our countries. And then you get the things and say, well, how about there were some connections in the 50s with, this is a very great researcher. Let's work in this. Maybe there's a foundation about that one who made this Germany case. It's very common. There were many researchers, archaeologists, even publishers who went to the Spanish America. And not everybody knows about that. And if you get this, there's a connection, and then you can get funds, and it's good for both sides. So my example is always look at the other side, and not only look about what's good for you, but what is good for the other one. So if you see what is interesting, start asking, what would be interesting for you? Because in the end, that will be good for you also, because they will implicate more in effort and work, and also in publicity or in propaganda. They say, well, you will work with you, but if that's important for them, they will do more publicity, propaganda, and give more effort. Just some things to start with. So please, questions or suggestions or whatever.
Okay, thank you so much. You've emphasized the fact that you guys work as a network and no one thinks that you're superior than the other, etc. Do you think it would be the case if the headquarters of the Institute is like in Colombia or in a different country, or it's all because Spain is considered to be like the main country that had Spanish?
Sometimes the thing is, Spain can be a little bit neutral because it's a bit afar, and that's important. I mean, if you are in, for instance, if you talk about political things, there are troubles right now between Colombia and Venezuela.
Right.
They have a frontier. So that sometimes it's not so easy, and sometimes they don't speak to each other. That's a problem. No, and because your president said something terrible about my president, and I won't talk to you because there's some troubles, real troubles, not cultural. But yeah, and sometimes being us a bit afar, it's like, well. Those things are real. We can't avoid that. It's true. You have a trouble, or a trouble with the frontier, or something with some business which is not going all right. But being in Spain, a bit afar from everything, is here. Let's talk about culture, and let's see what we can do together. So it's not. Sometimes it's easy, especially because it's a bit far, and there are no problems with limits of frontiers or anything straight there. It helps. It's not automatical. So you have to work on that. And we worked a lot about that, say, and at least in Berlin we do so. Maybe in some places they don't do it that way, but we always try to do that. Here it's also very important because Berlin is a very important place, and all the embassies are here. And sometimes you have to balance things because some countries are much more important than others. It's like Mexico, it's a giant. It's a giant. And they say, well, come on. But they say, all right, let's do something with you, but also let's say with Costa Rica, which is tiny. And let's do something together, for instance. And then you have to see. By the way, there's a writer who was born here, but worked. Why don't we do something with these three countries, for instance? Maybe not with all of them, but like that. I don't know if a great writer called Monterroso. Well, Monterroso lived in Mexico a great part of his life, but he was born, I think it was Honduras and Guatemala. Garcia Marquez, the Nobel Prize, was born, or Alvaro Mutis were born in Colombia. But they spent many, 50 years or more living in Mexico. So it's part of them all. But sometimes it's good to be like a neutral ground. I mean, if we did it in the Spanish embassy, Spain would be the host and the other the guest. But Cervantes is, well, we all sit here like you. It's culture. And we are brothers here. So let's see how can we do things together. Of course, you all have to talk to them. You are the secretary or ambassador here. You have to talk to your president and say, what have you been doing? You have to get the best for you. But we try to do things that help, to be more, help collaboration, say, at least, let's work in the same ground. We are all the same thing. And what is good for one, it's going to be good for the other, all of us, in the end. Maybe you don't see it in 1 year, but you will see it. And we are like it's like a field where at least we try to help them play at home. The idea is that everybody should play at home. No, it's not easy because that's, but we try to do so. Yes.
My name is Esteban. Hola, ¿qué tal? I'm the director of media at XD. I have a question for you. I'm from Barcelona. Since the Instituto Cervantes is based and dedicated to the promotion of the Spanish culture and the Spanish Castilian language.
No, no, all the Spanish. We also, I mean, we also have courses of Catalan and Galician and Basque. And
Yeah,
also.
is what I'm going to ask because I am curious about if you have also as well dedicated programs.
Yes.
You know, to the other languages
Yes.
in Spain, like Galician or Basque language or Catalan.
Of course, of course. The thing is, here the main subject of this lecture was about our connection with America, which is something which is really important and something which is only Spain can do that. But we have programs not only in Berlin, but we also have the Ramon Llull, which has the main part of it, of course. But we also have classes of lessons of Basque, Catalan, and Galician, and it's not a thing only from us. You know, all the great institutes, Ramon Llull in Spain, the Etxepare, and the Galician Institute, they work all the time. We have many programs, and it's not only about languages, also of culture. I mean, it's like, let's say, about an architect from Barcelona or a painter from Vigo, whatever. And we work all the time with the different regions, with the culture in the different regions, but also with the institutes like you, Etxepare, and the Galician one. And of course, we're very, very proud of all our writers. But in this case, probably the idea for a wider group here is how to manage with something which is very helpful, but it's also not so easy many times to work with 20 countries and try to put them all together. In our case, it's only one country. It's very easy to do the things, or quite easy to do the things for us. Be able to. Obviously, it depends on the demand. I mean, we always offer the courses, but it's not always that we get it. But it's a general policy of the whole Instituto Cervantes. Yes.
So I have a question. You said your like Instituto de Cervantes is part of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Spain, right? And so in that case, let's say if a person wants to translate his book, let's say he's a writer and he's in exile, and so we deal here with the law, right? Is it mandatory to represent some publishing house, or he can address like can ask you for the help on its own because we deal with the law if he's in exile?
In my case, would be a thing for translation, say for some language into Spanish. You mean?
Translation, or maybe to kind of promote his artistic, translation and rather support.
Those things, translation from some language into Spanish, they deal with the other countries. I mean, for example, Spain has the grants for translating Spanish authors into other languages. And that doesn't belong to us, it's Ministry of Culture, but we, of course, we share the information. In this case, I was telling about all these programs of translation belong to different countries and to the Ministry of Culture in different countries, but we just give the information and put in touch the publishing houses, which are the ones who have to work with that, because in all this, in the forms, it's not that the writer say, "Hi, I'm a writer, please do translate me." No, it's the publishing houses which say, you have to have a publishing houses. I'm interested in that, and usually the grant is that any country, could be Spain or Uruguay or Mexico, pays the translator, not the publishing of the book. But there's a thing of the country, it's promotion of the culture in some other country. I mean, you mean about translation of some other languages into Spanish, that comes, it's a work from the other ministers of culture, say of German minister, or they are Minister of Culture in Germany or in France, and they have the grants for translating into other countries. I mean, you mean about exactly about writers in exile, or
Yes.
well, that's a difficult case, because usually if they're in exile, they have some problem with the government, and or he won't promote them.
Since you are part of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's why I was just
I mean, we promote the culture of the Spanish culture, of all the languages in Spain, but also the mainly information about the Spanish-speaking country. Then they can't apply through us. We don't say yes or no. We tell people you have to apply this way to the Ministry of Culture in Spain or the Ministry of Culture in Mexico or in Peru, and this is the way, and I can give you the information. But that goes straight to the Ministry of Culture. And in our case, we are all a public institution, but it may change because as the British Council is partly private, or the Goethe Institute, which is a foundation, a Stiftung. So we are working on that. But in those cases, it's just not our division. I mean, it comes more to political things, and it's not our side. There, foreign affairs ministry is a huge thing with very, very clearly divided sections.
So would you say it's easier and more simple for books to be translated in Spanish more often than in, let's say, Guatemalan or Mexican?
Sorry.
So, like, for example, the translation of books that the Institute works with, is that more easily done in Spanish? Is that something that happens quite often and less in, like, South American languages?
No, the thing is, South American languages, I mean, we all speak Spanish.
No.
It's the main thing. I mean, there are many languages in Spanish America. Many, because thanks God, that people have been preserved and kept all the time. Lots of languages in every country. But the main language, you may also translate from some of the, let's say, from Maya Quiche or some other languages, or Quechua, Aymara, there are translations. But those things are ruled by every country. It's like every country promotes the developing and that everybody else may know about their own culture. In our case, we just help, and it's just think of information. If I work, as I work here, with German publishing houses, and they may know that there is some Spanish grant, they know it because they work in the European Union. They know every country in the European Union has grants for translation, but they may not know that there is a new grant which appeared last year in Colombia because there were none before. And say, Mr. So-and-so publishing house, if you want to translate from Spanish, if you are interested in some Colombian writer or Mexican or Uruguayan writer, there is a new grant. There is a new grant. Apply for that. And of course, if you do that here, it's German, we'll be delighted to have the presentation also in Cervantes. And when it's done, the whole of it, we also promote it, and it's in our all our links and all the information. Lately, just to put it straight instances. Last year we had one with the Embassy of Peru, the publishing house Berenberg. They published Vallejo, the great Spanish Peruvian poet, essays, which is great. I mean, everybody knows the poets, but because he just loved it. Well, the director of the publishing house said, well, I'll put you in touch with the embassy, so let's do something together. And so they made the presentation at the Cervantes, and the embassy, the ambassador was there, and they also made the information, and it appeared in the press in Peru that there's a new translation in German. So that's what they do. We also did something with Argentina. They have the program South, Programa Sur. And so say, hey, this is a new edition of this Roberto Arlt, another classic of the 20th century. Let's do something together. So that the ambassador came, they got some Argentinian wine, they spoke about that. It also was broadcasted in Argentina, so it's things to put together.
Actually, thank you very much for the wonderful presentation and also showcasing this model, very flexible, very non-hierarchical, more networking or net-based management of Cervantes within the Spanish language speaking countries. I mean, this is very inspirational, and I think it's a way a little bit forward than the other typical cultural centers that are more focused on a specific culture or specific nature of a country. My question, I mean, actually that inspired me to ask you, like, how this flexible entity that makes Cervantes in this way existence in different parts of the world. Because you also said that you're part of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and usually we know, and I'm actually worked before with the British Council, so I know how much one of the first aims is to promote the British culture, and it's more focused on one-way direction rather than mutual in terms of how much you communicate with the others your story instead of listening to the other story. I think like the fact that you are part of this Ministry of Foreign Affairs is also positive because somehow how much or how to what extent there was an impact of Cervantes to feed in the policies of the international affairs within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Like, I mean, yes, you bring back, but how much you brought from the different cultures that Cervantes is based on.
So the thing is, that it's a great culture. It's not different cultures, so that makes things very easy. And as I tell you, if you get the great artist in Spanish in the 20th century, 80% are not Spanish. It's from Spain. So it's the great names in everything, music and cinema. Of course, there are Spaniards, but not only Spaniards. We are only a 40 million people country, and the whole of it is 500 million. It's Colombia is bigger, Mexico is more than 100 million, and they are great in many things, but definitely in culture, great countries. So, as I tell you, it's not that easy because everyone wants to get the best for its own country, but Cervantes has a special thing that we may try and help put things together, and just feeling all of us, all of different countries, has a great, amazing culture in which everyone belongs to all of us. So it's not just it's your writer or my writer. No, it's our.
Yeah. No,
And Cervantes has more flexibility than other parts of.
what I meant by the difference is not the Spanish-speaking countries. What I meant is the existence of Cervantes in the other parts of the world, speaking the Arab world, Africa, Europe, other countries in Europe. To what extent Cervantes being there for a long time? I know from at least the part of the region where I come, many Syrians go and attend the cultural events happening at Cervantes, being artists, or the language courses. Spanish is very loved within our communities. So, and therefore there is a lot of Spanish archaeologist works in Syria or in the Middle East in general. And in that sense, like to what extent the existence, like my question was, to what extent the existence of Cervantes in completely different parts of the world, having this flexibility to deal with this amount of diversity of a great culture, as you called it, helped to influence the policies within the international relations in Spain.
Well, it's always
That is like
culture is always a great diplomat, and then of course it's different in every country. It's not the same in places where there are not such a big group of Hispanic philologists are in Cairo, which is, for instance, it's huge. But the thing is, just I heard it's always good thing that in culture is one of the greatest diplomats in education also. I remember that there was one chance, just to finish up with something from Germany, there was one chance in 1944, the war was not over yet, there was one chance for the atomic bomb to be dropped here in Heidelberg, because Germany has not been won yet. There was, of course, the chances of Japan. It was in Japan, but there was a chance in Heidelberg. And one of the American generals said, "Not at all in Heidelberg. No way." He had studied in Heidelberg. And he said he vetoed it. No way here. I mean, I also met many people who work in Spain or Spanish-speaking countries from with French schools, German schools, Italian schools. It's a great connection, and it's like having two homes. And so it really, culture and education it's a great connection, of course, for peace and understanding and all kinds of collaboration. If you start with a country, it's very easy to do things with in all kinds, studying there, also going there and marrying people there. So it's a great linking thing. And culture is one of the main ones. Thanks for everything.